March 24th. We have a fairly lengthy agenda in front of us if someone wants to move that. Councillor Brewster.
I move the agenda for Tuesday, March 24th.
Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Perfect, one out of the way already. Minutes from March 3rd. Councillor Rihanna Hanson.
Yeah, I move that we approve the minutes from March 3rd.
Did anyone see any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the minutes? Carried unanimously. Moving right into our reports for the day, and finance is up first, Mr. Graves.
Actually going to hand it over to Manager McKinnon here to give the report.
Perfect, thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Creasy and Council. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking our financial analyst, Trina Price, who's prepared the report, who's prepared the background charts as well as the PowerPoint. So I'm here to present, but she did all the work. So thank you. So we're here today to consider the 2025 budget variance report as of December 31st, 2025. So you will find the December 31st budget variance package, which includes the variance detailing all the operating variances, the capital plan variance represented for our 2025 budget year. For your comparison, the percentage of budget achieved for the programs appears in the far right-hand column. Just to note, we are utilizing 8.1% of our $55 million line of credit at the end of 2025. That is an improvement from the prior year, believe it or not. It was $13 million that we were utilizing a year prior, so moving in the right direction. Okay, we'll start with the operating revenue. Overall, just looking at the total operating revenue achieved, we achieved $72 million of $74 million budgeted, which is a $2.1 million shortfall. The budget, just to note, a budget estimate is the best estimate at a point in time. So when these numbers were prepared in budget, all the factors of the year may not have been known until they actually occur. So going through some of the larger variances, municipal taxation, it's relatively small. This is a net figure of all the requisitions, but it does not represent, there is still outstanding taxes from prior years and this year of 6.6 million. So 4.2 million of those outstanding taxes are linear. The government cost recovery is another large line where we're showing unfavorable variance of 1 million. And this is really just the reimbursement we get from Alberta government for Junction 42 work, as well as the Junction 42 intersection. So the budget we estimated for the project was slightly higher than what we spent, $1 million higher. Government transfers is the next line. This is just deferring to all our operating grants, and the under shortage of revenue in this line is likely projects that will be carried forward to the next year. So we try to match revenue against expenses. So if we didn't spend something and we receive grant money, it'll be deferred until the following year. Interest income is lower than budget, and this is we have cashed in some of our long-term investments to help our cash flow, so the interest revenue is not as high. And we did have some year-end reversals that also caused it to be a little bit lower. Land sales for development revenue is 1.6 million lower than budget, than we projected, and this is also offset by a decrease in expenses for cost of land sold. License and permits are in the green. They're good, favorable variance. Largely, I think it's our electrical and building permits that have gone up that are supporting our revenue. Penalties and file notifications, typically we tend to budget conservatively. We don't want people to have penalties, but we overachieved our budget in 2025. Sales, user charges, and other revenues. This includes some unbudgeted items, so we are over budget, but it includes Alice, WCB, and other various revenues that we don't actually budget for, so that's where we have a surplus revenue. Utility services is under budget or over expended by, under revenue of 168,000. Waste management has got a surplus of 156,000. And moving down to the bottom line, our other disaster recovery, this is a line representing our 2025 wildfires. We responded to 4, which we were reimbursed for and not budgeted. And net gains on assets, $104,000. This is mostly vehicles from protective services and potential little land management deals. So we can move to the next slide, which is our operating expense. Overall, operating expenses are $5.4 million under budget, or approximately 8%. I'll just go through some of the highlights. Community services, now the details are in the charts behind the report. We'll break out all the details to show up this big surplus, or this favorable variance of $1.6 million for community services, but it's made up of a few lines. Recreation programs, $804,000. Of that, $300,000 was money that was going to be issued out, but the grant agreement deferred it to 2026. Transit program had a surplus of $368,000 of expenses, or favorable or under expended, and consulting services were under expended, and some of those were for projects that will be carried forward to 2026. Corporate services is a favorable under expenditure of $196,000. This includes a carry forward of consulting for IT that will be moved to 2026. Also, just to note here, we did spend $195,000 over budget for our overdraft fees for 2025. So there's our goal for next year to improve. General governance, $265,000. Operation services is another big number, $1.6 million under expended. Again, this relates to a lot of factors that are in the chart, including, bridge maintenance, ditch water flow, engineering, road, and lease agreements. Also, favorable variances for lead core contract. Planning and development services, $1.9 million underspent, largely again for that $1.2 million junction work, 42 junction, that we had budgeted expenses that we did not spend, as well land savings, cost of land sales, because we did not sell as much land as we had projected. Protective services has a negative, has an over expenditure of $168,000. This is largely due to the fire responses that we did in 2025, which was offset by revenue of $300,000 and the other side. And there is some training dollars that will be overspent. Moving down to the bottom couple lines, bad debts lower than projected. It's $885,000 versus $1 million budget. And the contingency total of $725,000, we only used $113,000 of that, which was moved to help with the Atrian renovations, moved to capital. So overall, net loss on sale of assets, $870,000. This is more of a financial journal entry that happens with our balance sheet relating to the transfer of TCA to our MCC and the value of the share value that we received in return. So it's more of a financial transaction, but it is showing a net loss on sale of assets. We can go to the next slide. So overall, the top line, operating revenue over expense, shows $3.2 million favorable. So revenue was under budget by $2.1 million, which would be considered unfavorable. We didn't meet that target, and expenses are under budget by $5.4 million. The net difference is $3.2 million favorable for operating results. Moving on to capital, I'm going to take you down to the expenditure line, which shows we had $54 million budgeted for capital projects in 2025. $38.9 million was spent, which gives us a $15 million unspent portion of that budget. Now, of that $15 million, $11 million was carried forward to 2026. So these are projects that just didn't get completed. They'll move on to 2026. And $4.3 million is for completed projects. So we completed them under budget, and so we won't need those funds. So all the other lines of revenue kind of tie into the expenditures of capital. For example, the first government transfer is grants. Even though we budgeted 14 million, that would be for all the capital projects, and we didn't spend all of our capital project money, so we only had actuals of 7.7 million. There are carry forwards that will go to 2026 related to those $11 million in capital work that's being moved to 2026. Cost recovery line is another big difference. It shows 14.3 million budgeted, only 9.4 million expended. This again does relate to a lot of our memorandum of understanding agreements for Junction 42, Airport Drive. I think Levi might be in there as well. So work that was budgeted but projected higher than actuals for 2025. And overall, the transfer, I'm going to take you to the transfer to from reserve. You'll see a $3.8 million actuals. So even though we budgeted $13.1 million coming from our reserves, we only spent 3.8. Again, part of it is capital related. We didn't spend all our capital dollars, so we didn't need as much money from our reserves. So basically that is what we drew from our reserves in 2025 for everything. So I'm going to take us to the next page. These are memo lines that are just addressed during the variance report. We have budgeted lines, even though they might be balance sheet related, to keep an eye on what's happening for cash flow. Amortization is a non-cash flow item. It was 35 million. We budgeted 35 million. Very small variance. Gravel inventory, we budgeted $3.5 million to be spent, and $2.98 million was spent. So that's favorable as well. The other three lines relate to debenture payments. So we obviously know what we have for long-term debt, what our payments are. We budgeted well, spent exactly what that is. Moving forward to 2026, we're going to show this a little bit differently. We will show all the debenture servicing costs in the operating budget. It's a cost we have. We have interest, and then we have the principal repayment. It will show us operating budget and actuals. So you'll see it moved up a little bit higher, not on this memo line. Next slide. Overall, we've had a very positive variance report. The change in fund balance is $373,000, which means we have recorded a minor loss on our equity. Again, I would say this relates to the transfer of tangible capital assets to Rural Connect, MCC. Mostly it's a balance sheet item, but moving forward, we're looking in good shape for 2026. And I'm happy to take any questions, and I have some experts here to help me. Oh, communications plan. Sorry, I missed a couple slides. The next slide. So communications, that's part of the agenda. This report's been shared online. The public can watch the video online or through recorded videos. Direction on this matter will be included in the meeting minutes, which are published online and summarized in the county news. Alternatives. Today you have three alternatives to accept the December 31st, 2025 budget variance report as information, request further information, and specify or deny administration's recommendation. Our recommendation is council accepts the 2025 budget variance report as of December 31st, 2025 as information. And just for your information, our next time we will see you for variance reporting for 2026 will be May, and that'll be our first quarter for 2026. Yeah, I'm complete. Thanks. Open to any questions.
Perfect. Thank you for the report. Questions of administration? Councillor Gerard, start us off.
Yeah, no, it's just for clarity, when you're going through your report, you said on contingency it was 700 and something thousand. On the report, it's 592.
Through the CAO to mayor and council. So what we do with that is we'll budget for our dollar amount, and then as we use that contingency, once it's approved to be used, we move it to the right spot. So we slowly shrink that budget down and put it into the right spot. So in that case, it was for the atrium renovation. So we moved it from that contingent line into the capital project budget line. So if we used up all the contingency, you wouldn't see a budget line in that contingent budget.
Councillor Brewster, any questions? Yep, fair. Councillor Ritz, Councillor DePalm, go ahead.
Thanks for the report. So I do have a few questions. I guess the one question I do have first off is the interest income. when you say that we cashed in a bunch of investments, yeah, sorry, my mind went blank there. Where did that money, where did it go? What was it put on? What was it used for? And why, I guess, was it cashed in, and who kind of goes there?
Through the CAO to Assistant CAO and Mayor and Council. So this has been something we've been doing over the last few years. And so we have been managing our treasury, so our cash flow. And so as investments come up, they have different maturity dates. We have some restrictions on what we're allowed to do investments in as a municipality. As they come up, we are making decisions whether the interest that we would get from the market would go against the interest that we are paying in overdraft or long-term debt. And so we're making those choices of whether to cash it in or to keep it invested. And so in the past year, there was one investment over $1 million that was due for maturity and could be reinvested. And so we decided to take the cash on that mature investment and use it for our cash flow needs instead of reinvesting it.
Okay, so can I ask more?
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I guess my other question would be, so does that kind of stuff come to council to be discussed, or is that administration's decision?
Through the CAO to Mayor and Council, in the past, that's been a treasury decision, like within the organization. I mean, we can certainly, if council wants to talk about how some of that cash management goes, I think we could definitely look at that. But in the past, many years ago when I was first here, there'd be the situations where we would, during tax time, potentially have additional cash flow, and we would do short-term GICs to gain interest on that. That situation's changed for us, and there'd be a dynamic of short-term borrowing, long-term borrowing for cash flow needs. And then the situation over the past few years has been a little bit more of the need for cash. And so those long-term investments, the rates that we would earn on those don't make sense compared to what we're paying for overdraft fees.
Okay. So I got more questions, if I can keep going. Okay.
Mr. D.
Just to close the loop on that, your long-term financial plan, that'll be a part of the decision-making process. So council will be a part of the discussion and decision-making on our long-term financial plan. But Mr. Graves outlined it very well. This is our short-term strategy at this point, is just to reduce our overdraft interest that we're paying.
Okay, so I guess in future a report will come to us then about this stuff?
Well, I think they're suggesting that as part of a long-term financial planning that's on our strat plan, we will see some of that. I'm also curious, I had kind of a similar question. I don't know if we could maybe get like a little briefing note on maybe the history of some of those investments, and that might help council with kind of where we're at on all of that stuff, if that makes it easier. But
Yeah, just so we know, I guess,
Yep.
what's there. Okay, can I ask more? I do have some.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't see many other hands, so you may as well keep
Okay.
going.
Okay, so I guess the other question, one of the other questions I have is the change in equity. So is that when it says this TCA, ARO, and the MCC shares, I guess I'm just a little confused as to what all that is.
To the Assistant CEO to Mayor and Council. So this is where we sometimes run into the challenge as accountants of having cash-based accounting versus accrual accounting. And so there's a little bit of what happening here is that when we do the budget, we're mostly budgeting on the revenue expenses, which is the income statement side. But we have things happening on the balance sheet side as well. And so this is a line that comes over and sort of reconciles the income statement and the balance sheet. We call them different things. We call them very confusing names in our financial statements. I prefer to call them those names. It's just a little more clear. So when we have a difference in our amortization or our TCA balance or ARO, this is the line that we would use to basically reconcile the balance sheet to the income statement.
Okay. So does that, so it's basically just a number that it's not really So we didn't lose $1.9 million then?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. There's a lot of moving parts. Like, for example, when we look at some of these, we have the issue of cash items versus non-cash items. So things that actually come out of our bank account and things that don't. So a great example in the budget here in the capital section, we have a contributed asset line. And what that is that's developers who after 2 years give us assets. So we had some Liberty Landing assets, and some home church assets come. And so that's non-cash. So we don't get money for that, but we get it and we have to book it as a revenue.
Okay.
But it doesn't quite make sense. So there's just some of those transitions of non-cash items.
Okay. Well, I do have a few more, but maybe I'll let someone else do some questions first. Maybe they got some.
Yeah, we can do a quick round and see where everyone's at. Councillor Ryan Hansen, questions?
Still learning budget stuff. I don't really have any numbered questions at this point. Just a couple things that were in the package. Maybe you just could clarify. What is environmental services reserve? What exactly is that?
So through the Assistant CAO to Mayor and Council, the Environmental Services Reserve is the reserve that we currently use to fund our solid waste utility. So that would be the Horn Hill, Yankee Flats, and I'm missing one more. Gates Ave, yep.
Okay. Also, there was a spot in here, I think it was on page 18, there was a municipal reserve revenue that wasn't, but what is that?
Through the Assistant CAO to Mayor and Council, so municipal reserve, basically that's, I'm kind of looking over, we got some planning folks here, but I'll give you the finance answer and you could get it from the planning. But essentially when land is developed, there can be the case where we would either require them to do green space, like municipal land space in a development, and they could either contribute the land or we'll allow them to contribute cash instead of the land. And so that'd be the case here where there's developments happening, and instead of giving us a piece of green space within a land being developed, they give us cash instead. And then we pool all that money in the municipal reserve, and then when there's opportunities to give some sort of amenities or other things like green spaces, we can go to that reserve to use that money.
Perfect, that makes sense, thanks. One other tiny little thing that I just kind of poked out to me, there was some savings here for not mailing out program guides. Is that the rec guide, or does anybody know what that was? It was listed on page 13, but yeah, I'm just wondering if that's something new or something.
Yeah, and I do apologize. Director Brand had to leave. We've had a structure fire out in Division 5 and an MVA on Highway 2A, so all hands needed, so he had to leave. We believe it is, but we could follow up. I made a note that we'll follow up with you. I don't want to give you the wrong answer, so that's what we'll do at this point. But we believe it is just the program guide savings.
And I guess as a follow-up question for Director Brand, was there a reason why we didn't mail them up, or that's just something we've started to do? I think the cost savings is good as long as people are getting
Noted,
the
and we'll
information.
respond through the CAO's office.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. Round two, Councillor Gerard.
Again, just a clarity question. Did I hear right? It was 4.2 million in lineal tax loss.
Through the Assistant CAO to Mayor and Council. So what that is that's the current outstanding taxes for linear. So that's where we get into talking about the toolbox we have to collect on arrears. So those are just taxes that haven't been paid, and the portion that's related to linear. So that's what's outstanding, and that's what we would be trying to use all of the tools that we have, even if there's some limits to our tools, to try and collect that money.
And out of that 4.2 million, how many of that fund is in 2025?
So basically, if we were looking at the variance and we were looking at all the revenue we wanted to collect, when we send out the bill for the tax levy, we're assuming we're going to get all that revenue, 100% of it, when we levy it out. This is basically what's outstanding that still needs to be collected. And so we still expect everyone to pay those taxes. And we're applying penalties to things in arrears or not. We have a lot stronger mechanisms for residential and non-residential, like businesses, to collect. Then with linear, we have limited tools. And so, you know, ultimately, if we exhaust all of our tools and then we find out that some of these companies are going under, that's the point where we would convert those into the bad debt expense. So we no longer expect that we'll be able to collect any of that money type thing. So this is one that definitely affects our cash flow. And, you know, when we talk about that balance of the bank account at the end of the year, obviously it'd be a different balance if we had that cash in our hands instead.
Would it be possible to get a bigger breakdown on that linear 4.2 million?
We definitely, through the Assistant CEO to Mayor and Council, we definitely report to the province all those, and we can share that with Council for sure.
So through the to the mayor and council, just so that we're understanding, what we report to the council is you know, the list of all companies. So we won't be able to give you the names of the companies, but we'll give you how many companies or how many roles that we have that are outstanding, and we'll give you what's current, what was penalties, and that. So we'll give you exactly what we report to the province, less the company names.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm just more curious of what's, you know, in 2025 and the older amounts, you know, kind of projecting where we're going to be looking at on writing off some of this linear tax. That's kind of more of what I was looking for.
Yeah, and to the mayor and council, we'll report. We usually, when it's dead, we write off, and you'll see those every year, an annual write-off. And so, yeah, I think there's one that's a little trickier. We have one under a payment plan that we'll have to report, and we'll try to protect their, you know, privacy with that. But we'll do the best we can to report to what you're asking for.
Thank you.
Councillor Brewster?
Am I on? No, thank you. So I just have a couple of questions. In our operating revenue section, we've got licenses and permits at 120%, penalties and file notifications 127%, and sales user charges and other recoveries at 124%. I'm assuming with penalties and files, because we assume we're going to get 100% bang on, that we can't do much about that. But are the other two, licenses and permits, sales user charges, as part of our strat plan, we want to talk about reducing red tape. To get those back, if we wanted to have 100% of those instead of an overcharge, is that where we could reduce some red tape to make it easier for people? Or is that just this is a lucky year and we made some money?
I think I'll take that one a little. We're not overcharging for anything through the mayor and council. I think, especially when it comes to electrical permits, we had Parrish and Heimbecker major permit. Obviously, that's not your usual permit. That's an expensive permit, expensive building. So the P&H permits were really reflected on our permit revenue. We don't get a $200 million development every, you know, so we're probably projecting it'll go back down to at budget or so. So where you'll see potentially some red tape reductions is really nothing that'll involve too much money. It'll be, you know, maybe, you know, garages and stuff like that. But generally speaking, it's mostly the overages is because of Parrish and Heimbecker. Major development had some big permits involving a lot of work for our contracted electrical inspector.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Carly Hansen?
I guess just with, I'm still wrapping my head around budget stuff for sure. So when there's items on these lists that, you know, the budget variance percentage is like a 200% or 215% or whatever, is there any like I'm just looking in like a home, like I would never go that much over budget. So and I'm not saying that it's all like that at all. It's quite well written. do you guys ever, I'm going to give you an example. Broadband infrastructure is at 196%. Is there any like stopping going that high? You know what I mean? Like, is there any, do you know what I mean?
No,
Is that a good question?
No, that's a good question. I think generally speaking, anything over plus or minus 5%, that's when the directors really care. You know, we try to keep our managers, give them a little bit of flexibility. Respecting the broadband, we did report to the previous council and report again to you. We were completing a broadband UBF funded project that we received notification of the grant in 2021. We spent 2 years negotiating the grant till 23, and then we started construction. And last year during construction, our contractor ceased operations. We had to pick up with Rural Connects. So we've had a whole bunch of factors that led into that, and so we had inflationary costs from 21 to 25 that we had to deal with, and that's causing a lot of the overages as well as the Velo fallout, and so that's where that one is. But respecting others, when you see overages, you know, with fire response,
Yes, that's the other one.
you know, quite frankly, that's something that strategically we may have a conversation with council. Should we stand up a crew that is going to go out to Alberta every year? We don't plan on it, but yeah, the last few years we've made money on it, definitely, and made a lot of money. And so you'll see expenses over and you'll spend revenue over. But that was been just an internal call by the CAO to allow our crews to go to Northern Alberta.
Okay, yeah, I think, like, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ritz.
Well, thank you for all of the information, greatly appreciated, and for the savings achieved where it was possible. I think that's fantastic. My only question, and again, this is just completely because I have no idea, soil conservation, there was a $260,000 variance there, and I'm just curious what that entails, just because I have no idea, so.
To the CAO, perhaps your Alice members would better respond than me. All truthfulness, I don't attend the Ag Service Board meetings, so I don't know what the grant was used for, but potentially our people that are on the Ag Service Board would know what that grant was for.
You want to answer?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you.
Okay, so the soil conservation, it's there wasn't money spent. All the money wasn't divvied out for the Alice projects. That's what my understanding it would be, right? Because I know I'm on Alice, so we haven't spent all the money. Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
Mr. Graves, you want to weigh in on that too?
Through the assistant CAO to mayor and council, I'll give it a go to. Is Alice for sure. We get annual funding through Alice, and part of it is that we're signing 5-year agreements for people who sign up for Alice, and so we do an annual payment, and we're carrying those funds, and we do our best to guess how much those payments would be, and it's a little bit of a cascading and growing thing where more people establish and then are on these 5-year plans. We each year get more Alice money, and so when we get that money, it's 5 years of kind of money, and so we've actually tried a couple different ways of presenting it to try and just show it as best we can, but it's one where sometimes we'll have more costs in a year, and then it comes in, but then we have this Alice revenue that offsets it. So we're carrying that and we defer that revenue each year. And, you know, each year that we take it, we're committed to 5 more years of these payments. And so, and then some are falling off. So that's how that goes with the Alice.
Thank you.
Councillor DePalm, any questions?
Yeah, so I do have, I guess, one more question. So in the revenue side, it says net gain on sale of assets, which is 104,620, which is to the good. And then under expenses, we have a net loss on sale of assets of 870,000. So I guess my question, I'm not understanding what that is pertaining to. Because we have a revenue on some and then now we're losing on the other, so.
Through the assistant CEO to mayor and council. So there are kind of 2 different items there. So one is the more traditional sale of TCA assets. So That's the revenue side one. So that's us selling old patrol vehicles at auction and getting some funds for those. We did have a few tiny land sales as well, like not the inventoried land sales, just small pieces of land that we own. So that's that one piece. The one in the expense area, that was our transaction with Rural Connect. And so we moved over our TCA assets in exchange for shares. And that was the difference in the value of our TCA asset versus the shares that we received from Rural Connect. And so that was done using a third-party appraiser to give a value for what the network was worth versus what we were carrying in TCA. So that's what the expense line one of 870 is. That's the Rural Connect transaction.
Okay, so then my other question would be, so that's under the capital plan, I guess down a little bit where it says change in equity, that 1.9, so that is offsetting that to some degree? Is that where it's included? We own, because it says MCC shares there, but then a loss on the sale.
Through the Assistant CEO to Mayor and Council, the municipality owning shares of another company is somewhat uncharted territory, like for us, but basically that transaction took place. We transferred our assets over in exchange for shares, which is equity. And so we do an equity entry. And so the bottom line below is this balance sheet equity line of we own shares of another company, equity in them. And so there's a little bit of the reconciling of the balance sheet back over, and that's what that line is, the change in equity one. So we do, whenever we sell something though, we'll have either a gain or a loss on a disposal. So there's that piece of the transaction. Then there's the piece of actually owning on our equity side, like shares of another company. So that's what the second line is. I wish I could give it more simply to you, but it's a little bit tricky of a transaction.
Okay, well, that makes sense, so I appreciate it. So that's all I have for right now.
Councilor Ryan Hansen, no further questions? I thought you guys were going to, Mr. Dietrich?
Thanks to Manager Rodwell, she did contact our community services department. So rather than send an email through the CAO's office, we thought we'd update you on the program guides. So the guides didn't go out due to a Canada Post strike. Program registration we included in the county news and available online. One thing they found out is that the mailing did not mailing them did not affect our registration numbers. So we have them available at our two family resource center, being Benalto and Springbrook, and then we have limited copies here at the office as well. So that's sort of where we're at on that question. I hope that's enough and we don't have to do a follow-up.
Good. Yeah, no, I think that adds some clarity and good cost savings. Okay, not seeing any. Go ahead, Councilor Brewster, another question?
So just to follow up to the land sales for development for the $2 million, I assume we're carrying that over for 2026 in the hope of still selling some of that? Yeah.
To the Assistant CEO to Mayor and Council. So that's when we don't carry it forward. We just have we have in the next 3-year budget that $2 million number as well. Like that's our target for sales in the next 3 years is the $2 million.
Any other questions? Not. Oh, go ahead. Under the wire, you got it.
Okay, yeah, sorry. And this is just a question. I guess my question would be, so if council didn't accept this as information, what happens then? I'm just asking.
Okay, yeah.
Through the CAO, so because this is just an information item, there really is no consequence to not accepting it. It would be if you did the inverse. If you passed a resolution that you not accept it, that is when there would be an inherent requirement essentially to tell administration what the issue is. So
do you have concerns with a particular expense? Do you want to report back? Do you want the auditors to take a look at something? What action does council require as a result of non-acceptance? So the request to receive it as information, that really does nothing, because to receive something as information is not really a thing. It's really just a courtesy resolution to make sure that it's documented. Council got this document and had the opportunity to review and has the information they require. So it would be if you actually passed a resolution to not accept, but then you would need to provide some detail on why you're not accepting it and what you want done with it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Gerard.
Just a really quick one. What kind of interest rate do we pay on our line of credit?
Through the Assistant CEO to Mayor and Council, I should know this. I used to spend a lot more checking the market. We pay prime +2.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm sure we could get more. I think we'll be talking about that probably a little bit with the spring budget and stuff as well too. So hopefully can get you an answer to that as well. Councillor Ritz.
I'm sorry, because I know that Director Brand isn't here, but the transit services variance, I was just wondering what the reason was for that.
Just through the mayor and council, any variances, we had a pilot project, Gasoline Alley East. It was more of a guess, what the cost would be, what the revenues would be. In terms of, cost, those are pretty fixed. Our revenues, you could say that our service is improved by like 400%, but going from 2 riders a day to 8 riders a day isn't necessarily that great, because we still only have 8 riders a day. At the end of every year, the city has a reconciliation, and that's really, we have a budget, but then they go actual costs incurred. They maintain our buses and they drive our buses. And so there is a reconciliation every year. Joanne does her very best to guess what our expenses will be and what our revenues will be, and any variance reported, that's what we're doing it. It's based on that reconciliation at the end. And sometimes she's at the mercy of the city of the timing of that information when we get it.
Okay. I think we got through everyone. Looking for a motion at this time. Councillor Gerard.
I motion to accept the budget variance as received by administration.
Okay, motion to accept for information. Comments or debate? Councillor Brewster. Councillor Carly Hansen.
I just want to make a quick comment. I thank you for the report. Thank you for all the information, and I will definitely support this for information.
Councillor Ritz, Councillor DePalm, Councillor Ryan Hansen. No, I agree. Yeah, today we're just kind of getting an update of where things ended in the year, and of course we're going through the process right now with the auditors and looking at this in a little bit more detail as well. And I think we had some good follow-up items coming out of the discussion to get council a little bit more information and background. I completely agree, Councillor Gerard, that linear tax piece has been hurting us for a number of years. Very, very hopeful that the announcement up at RMA with some of the changes potentially coming there that, I don't know if we'll recoup all of that, but hopefully stop it from growing in the future. And I look at this as overall fairly good news, almost under budget in every department except protective services, but they use that going over to generate revenue, so make sense of that. I also liked seeing the savings in some of our fleet costs due to the changes we made there going to the lease program. I think that's really positive, and I think our public would really like to see that as well. I think the amount of contingency was good. I think that's probably the least amount of contingency we used in the last couple of years. So that also helps the bottom line at the end of the day. So, Councillor Gerard, I don't know if you have further comment. Okay. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, are we good for another one, or you guys want a quick break? I'll go for a break. Break? Okay. Okay, we'll do a quick break. We'll come back at 10:25. Ran back in the room. Always nervous when you leave in a hurry. Next up is item 5.2, and Mr. Barr or Miss Miller. Perfect. Whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Yeah. Here we go. Whoop. So this is to advise County Council that Red Deer County has received an amended notice of proposed annexation from the Summer Village of Norglenwold, and to request Council's consideration of the village's proposed annexation. So on February 19th, 2026, County Administration received an amended notice of proposed annexation from the Summer Village of Norglenwold. Summer Village is proposing to annex 4 parcels with a combined total area of 22.17 hectares. This is the third notice of annexation that the county has received from the Summer Village. First notice, which was received back in April 2008, indicated they wanted at that time to annex about 5 parcels in a fairly substantial area. That application was not pursued, due in part to changes that were being contemplated at that time to the Municipal Government Act. On June 7th, 2017, the village submitted an amended notice of proposed annexation. So it's an amendment from the 2008. That's why we keep talking about amending notices, which indicated a major reduction in the overall area that was proposed to be annexed, as well as reduction in the number of parcels from 5 to 3. The 2017 notice was presented to County Council and was supported, as it was supported in the Sylvan Lake Intermunicipal Development Plan. The village, however, delayed moving forward with their annexation application till now. So the notice that was received on February 19th of 2026 differs slightly from the original out of the second notice we received in 2017, with the inclusion of a small environmental ER, or environmental reserve parcel, for a total of 4 parcels. So that red circle up in the top corner is the ER that got included. Similar to the 2 previous notifications, the most recent notification provides a justification for the annexation as per the Municipal Government Act. Notice indicates that the proposed lands have been considered for annexation in the past and is supported by the Sylvan Lake IDP. They've also indicated that the amount of land is minimal and could help alleviate, albeit in a small way, some of the growth pressure that they're experiencing around Sylvan Lake. The notice includes a section on consultation. Proposed consultation includes a public consultation plan that involves the use of mailouts, the Summer Village's website, direct consultation with affected landowners, and public open houses. To date, the Summer Village has hosted 2 open houses to inform attendees of the annexation and to solicit comments and feedback. There's also a our communications plan, I guess. As part of the agenda of this report, it's been shared online, and direction on this matter will be included in the meeting minutes, which are published online and summarized in the county news. Recommendation at this point is that County Council approve in principle the Summer Village of Norglenwold's proposed annexation pursuant to the proposed process for negotiation and consultation as presented in its amended notice of proposed annexation. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Questions of administration? Councillor Palm.
Thanks for the report. So one question I have is, if they're annexing some more land and adding more infrastructure, houses and that kind of thing onto this, that's going to put more, I guess, pressure on our roads and that. So what is the plan? Like, I didn't see anything about roads in here. If they're putting more pressure on our infrastructure, road infrastructure, how do they contribute to that?
Thank you. Through the Assistant CAO. So at this point, we have not sat down with their IDP committee which is going to be the next step, and we have to do some negotiation. So we haven't gotten there yet, and so that's definitely a point of discussion that we'd have to have with them. What is the density? What are they looking at in terms of residential development within a particular area? Are they looking at developing all of it or some of it or what? So that's definitely one of the points that we'll be discussing with them, but they have not, at this point, we have not met to discuss that.
Okay. Okay. As long as it's coming, I guess I can be satisfied with that. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Anna Hanson? No. Councillor Gerard? Councillor Bruce? Okay. Councillor Carly Hanson?
Is there ever money exchanged for annexations?
Through the assistant CAO. Yes, indeed. There sometimes is money that is exchanged. So that's another thing that we would have to discuss. Usually there's compensation for tax loss. Sometimes that gets into, especially if it's a major area that's being annexed. In this case, it's not a whole ton. So it's a point that we'll bring up at least. But if it's minuscule, hard to say.
Councillor Ritz, questions? Sure, we will go around to you. Mine was on the same lines as the couple questions so far. And you mentioned negotiation coming. I just want to clarify we're not getting premature with this resolution ahead of negotiating in case I think this is fairly small and things I should stay out of my opinion, but I guess yeah, are we getting ahead of ourselves with this resolution if we haven't done the negotiating yet? I guess would be my question.
So through the assistant CAO to mayor and council, this is basically the first step. Negotiation comes after, so they have to initiate the annexation for this whole process to start, and then from there we will reach back out to the Summer Village to set up the meeting. So yeah, that's just the way it is. That's kind of how it lays out.
Nope, no, appreciate the clarity. Yeah, I heard a request for a round 2 with questions. Councillor DePalm.
Yeah, so it's kind of that. So this will come back to us with the negotiations, and so that we can have full input on what we think.
So through the assistant CAO to mayor and council, yes. So the next bit is we would sit down with the Summer Village, do the negotiation. There would be a negotiation report that comes back to council, and from there you would vote again whether or not you would support it based on what is included in that negotiation report. Goes from there. So if we are opposed still at that point, it will end up going to the LPRT regardless, Land and Property Rights Tribunal. They would be considered at that point either we're in support of or uncontested on our end or contested, and we would be a party that would be either in support or in opposition. The LPRT would also refer out to the landowners and the adjacents as well as affected landowners, whether or not they're in support of, and if just one of them opposes, then it's contested, and we would have a hearing at that point.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted clarification just because I couldn't remember fully what we did. So,
Councillor Anna Hanson.
This is just out of my own curiosity for the process of annexation. And just because they've changed over the years what they're asking for at the beginning, it looked like a really large piece, and now they've kind of scaled it down. Is there consideration to if this is more than they need or less than they need, or do you know what I mean?
So through the CAO, at this point, we're assuming this is what they need and what they want. I suspect that if they're looking at something fairly substantial in size, it would probably bring up the question of, you know, the Summer Village itself. When has it become a village, right? So I'm assuming some of that might come to play, why it might be a little bit on the smaller side, but I can't really say. This is what they've been asked, and our assistant CAO may be able to assist on that end.
Yeah, further to the history of this file, there's another party that's important. That's the town of Sylvan Lake. The larger area, the town of Sylvan Lake was opposed to that larger area. I believe part of the discussion a few years ago, our council said to the Norglenwold, come back to us when you and Sylvan Lake agree. So we are assuming that they agreed, and we'll find out during the negotiation process if the town of Sylvan Lake is okay with this. And, you know, because I think that's the bigger issue is whatever they do will have an impact on the recreation infrastructure of Sylvan Lake, one of our partners. And, you know, I think the town has very much an interest in how much land Norglenwold consumes.
Does that answer your question? Councillor Gerard, last chance.
No, you asked the question I was wanting to know was the next step from here, and if this is just a preliminary annexation thing. So no, I'm good right now.
Perfect. Councillor Brewster.
Just one question. Thank you for all the information. That's very helpful. I was looking forward to this presentation. I'm assuming that the first two notifications for annexation were approved by previous councils or accepted for information, or?
So through the assistant CEO, I can't really speak to the first one. I know the second one came through and we got to this point where county council did approve of the notice, and then it just stalled for whatever reason. COVID, all sorts of things came into play, and it just didn't proceed at that point. So now they're at that point to proceed.
Councillor Carly Hansen, Councillor Ritz. Okay, I think that gets all the questions out of the way. Councillor Carly Hansen, this is in your area. I don't know if you want to take the shot at a motion, or we can.
No, I can make a motion. I'd make a motion that Red Deer County Council approve in principle the Summer Village of Norglenwol's proposed annexation.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments or debates? Councillor Ritz? Seen none? Yeah. Okay, yeah, we look forward to some ICF meetings, I guess. But, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving into item 5.3, campaign disclosure. I'm guessing that's going to be Ms. Rodwell.
Good morning, Council. As part of today's agenda, a report was provided under the Local Authorities Election Act, providing candidates that fail to file campaign disclosure statements. This information is simply just required to be presented to a council meeting. Therefore, this item has been provided in the agenda and no further action is required.
I know you know I'm going to ask this, but should we accept it for information?
The Act does not say anything regarding council accepting it or doing anything with the report, so my advice would be to do nothing with the report.
Okay. I usually like to accept things for information, but this one's a little unique, so I guess if everyone's comfortable with that, we can follow the recommendation. Yeah. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor DuPont.
Sorry, I got lots of questions. Not on this, but so I guess this is, it doesn't require the county to do anything. It'll be Elections Alberta or whatever that would have to deal with the next step process, whatever, right?
No, Elections Alberta has no formal role in municipal elections. They've started to build some stuff in on some campaign financing, but in regards to this one, this relies with the municipality. So it's with the municipality to levy the late filing fee, and then to determine which next steps are going to be required from there. So this is entirely within municipal jurisdiction and is being handled by the municipality.
Okay, so we have policies on this then?
No, we just rely on what's in the Local Authorities Election Act.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions going around the room? Seeing none? Oh, yeah. No, go ahead.
Thank you. Is this new? Is this different from, because there's been a lot of changes with the local authorities election, so is this new?
Sorry, in the last, I think 4 elections, municipal finance has changed every single time, or campaign finance has changed every single time. So it's just recalling like which parts are new and which parts are not. We do not recall ever producing this report in the past. So we do believe that presenting this report to council is a first under the Local Authorities Election Act. So this portion is new. The late filing fee is not new.
to answer your question, it probably will change before the next one too. So, okay, I'm not seeing any other hands on this one. So I think that means we can move on to item 5.4. Not sure, Mr. Dietrich.
Yeah, the running joke around here is I have no people left, so can't delegate. So this is to discuss the Village of Elnora grant application through the Intermunicipal Collaboration component of the Alberta Community Partnership Program to prepare an infrastructure master plan. Now, this aligns with our strategic priorities, and it has been identified by the Village of Elnora as an important item respecting the upcoming ICF renewal. The key program outcomes for the ACP are, new or enhanced regional municipal services, improved municipal capacity to respond to priorities, and effective intermunicipal relationships. One of the eligible partnerships is really about service delivery frameworks and regional efficiencies. The county and village participate in an ICF. Now we have two big municipal service agreements, being land use planning and fire services. Both of them will benefit from this work. The project will entail an inspection of all infrastructure, reporting the condition of same, listing infrastructure from worst condition to first, and prepare an updated estimated replacement cost. And lastly, to give the village a heart attack, I'm sure, with their council. There will be no direct implications to the county. We're seeking $200,000 with no matching, which is pretty awesome. We did get one, I think 2 or 3 years ago. We did one in Village Delburn, so Delburn's already done, so that's kind of cool. The village and county, we've been successful through this program before. A few years ago, we got money from the village to pay us for doing their updated MDP and LUB, which was pretty cool. And Municipal Affairs really wants to help the village out, and it's in their best interest in terms of determining their viability in their future. Alternatives, you can either endorse this application or deny it. We're recommending to endorse it to assist in the preparing of an infrastructure master plan for the Village of Elnora. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the report. Any questions for administration? Councillor DePalm.
Thanks for that. So this, I guess, grant money, and that will be used basically for costs to get all this done, right? Like the staff time, and that's what this is all going to, is for...
Through to Mayor and Council, yes, the grant will go for the consulting engineer, and a lot of it is ground truthing as well. Director Miller will recognize this, and she'll laugh about it. Their infrastructure map is a drawing that's on their shop wall, and so when we go, or if we have to do digs or that, it's plus or minus a few feet. We don't know the exact location, if there's valves, all that. So a lot will be ground truthing. And that's why we're suggesting to the village to apply for the maximum amount. It's a small village, but we believe there's a lot of background work. They're going to have to put cameras down almost everywhere to determine the condition of the pipes and the location of the pipes. So I think there's a lot of work. The great thing is we're going to know exactly what the state of the infrastructure is. And I think it'll be a real eye-opener for all of us to determine, okay, what kind of taxes are the village going to have to do? Because we want them to actually really do an asset management plan. They're not there yet. They're not even close to being there. But I think this is something that we can really encourage them. Hey, maybe levy a $1 million tax increase to come up with, that long-term capital needs that you're going to need. Because right now, they're just living day to day with their taxes.
Okay. So it'll cover if we have staff time, basically, and hiring a consultant to do all this other stuff too, but it won't cost Red Deer County anything.
Correct. This is a good program. And like I said, we did it with the with the MDP and LUB. Surprised we actually got funded to do that, because normally Municipal Affairs doesn't fund other municipalities doing work for other municipalities. But in this case, I don't know if we just got lucky, but we're assuming they'll accept the same thing. So if our consulting engineer has time, we'll be able to bill it back to them.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Further questions, Councillor Ryan Hansen?
You may have answered my question. I was going to ask if this has ever been done or if there's a timeline, but the drawing on the wall may indicate this has never been done before.
To mayor and council, no, this is we desperately need this. We have put in their utility infrastructure into our GIS system, but it was based on our GIS tech going out and scanning the map on the wall. And we do have a couple lines that are still good. They're not all bad, but there's some stuff that was put through 50, 60 years ago that they don't have proper engineering drawings for them.
Councillor Gerard, any questions? Councillor Brewster?
Could you elaborate a little bit on the viability, right? So if we have this work done, or Elnora has this work done, which is obviously going to be a huge improvement from the map on the wall, and have to do their viability assessment with the province, I'm assuming this is a way forward for them in a good way?
To mayor and council, this is critical information, and you'll find that some municipalities are taking over. There's a few big ones that are going through, but the province caps how much money they give to a county in the transition. We want to go in with our eyes open. If we do assume, and I don't want to assume that they're not viable, because I do believe anything's viable. You can tax people, whether or not you have the ability to people to pay the tax is another story. But let's say they need $10 million worth of infrastructure, and to do it, they don't think their ratepayers can take that burden, and they're not viable. And that'll be a key part of the negotiation for you as a councillor and council to discuss with the province, saying, "Hey, we'll take these guys over. We need a $5 million grant to upgrade their infrastructure. $1.5 million doesn't cut it." And I think you'll hear horror stories going around if you're at convention of these a lot of people getting the shaft of taking over these villages. And this is one where this is exciting for us, because we have we know just from working with Bowden, they're in great shape. We know their assets and we know their infrastructure really well. We know we know Delburn really well now. Now we have Elnora. And once we get Elnora, all three of them, we'll know the state of their infrastructure. We'll know, as a council, you'll know what you're getting into should they ever do this, where they want to determine if they're viable or not.
Councillor Carly Hansen? Councillor Ritz? Does that tackle everyone's questions? Councillor Gerard, this is in your area. If you want to make a motion, you can.
Yeah, I'll motion to endorse the Village of Elnora for their grant application.
Thank you for that. Comments or debate? Councillor Brewster? Councillor Carly Hansen?
Just a quick comment. I'm excited for Elnora to have this done, and I think that it's a great opportunity to find out kind of where they're at. And so, yes, I'm definitely in support of this.
Councillor Ritz? Councillor Palm? Councillor Ryan Hansen?
Yeah, just supportive. Appreciate Elnora being proactive about trying to figure out where things are at. So I think it's good.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is great. It's a way we can kind of lend a voice to our neighbors without having to lend dollars, and hopefully by doing this planning, as Councillor Brewster kind of alluded to, maybe we avoid that viability discussion, and this kind of helps them sort out. They have a new council too, and I think they're trying to get on the right track. So, I'm in full support of this, that hopefully they can get the grant and do the work, and we'll have a better understanding of where everything's at when it's all said and done. Councillor Gerard, I don't know if you have any closing comments?
No, just in close, supporting our local villages and part of our RCF agreements. I think this is a great thing for Elnora, and I hope they get the grant, and all the best.
Perfect. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, moving right along into item 5.5 is around our CAPE membership, and I've seen a lot of our ECDev team join us. Miss Miller, I don't know which direction we're headed here. Miss Logan is getting the finger point.
Well, geez. Good morning. Yes, today we are here to consider Red Deer County's membership with Central Alberta Economic Partnership, which is CAPE. On March 10th, Council directed administration to prepare a report for consideration respecting Red Deer County's membership with CAPE. Founded in 1998, CAPE is widely recognized as Alberta's original REDA, or Regional Economic Development Alliance. It was a pilot and is organized as a member-funded nonprofit society focused on regional collaboration, capacity building, investment attraction across central Alberta. Today, CAPE represents 45 plus municipalities and organizations across 35,000 square kilometers. Currently, CAPE has 24 active municipal members. Red Deer County is an active CAPE member and has held leadership roles on CAPE's board. Membership gives Red Deer County access to regional investor tools, such as the centralalberta.ca, data resources training, and collaborative advocacy. CAPE's current strategic plan focuses on 3 key elements, one being community investor profiles, regional investor profiles, and networking to empower investment attraction in central Alberta. As one of Alberta's 9 REDA, CAPE received $125,000 in 2023 under the province's REDA envelope. All 9 REDAs received the same. CAPE is now managing the 2024 to 27 provincial wind down of direct operational funding and the shift from project-based grants, or shift to project-based grants. CAPE's leadership has publicly noted that the 3-year wind down and the need to strengthen industry partnerships and non-provincial revenues. CAPE is pursuing broader membership, associate recruitment, and industry partnerships in order to offset declining provincial operations or funding and position itself for project-based wins. CAPE's membership cycle runs from April 1st to March 31st. Red Deer County's 2025-26 membership fee totals $18,251.52, and that's calculated on a per capita basis. CAPE's Article of Association states a member ceases membership upon giving at least one fiscal year written notice to the CAPE Board of Directors of its intention to withdraw in the 4th quarter of the following year, or if it's earlier accepted by the board. That means notice in 2026 leads to a withdrawal in the 4th quarter of 2027, barring board-approved acceleration. To withdraw in 2027, notice would need to be provided before the end of the fiscal year, which would be March 31st, 2026. So we can take a look at the benefits and risks of withdrawing from CAPE. One of the benefits of withdrawing could be targeted use of funds, which would redirect annual CAPE fee to county-specific programming or to other partnerships that directly serve local business needs and sector opportunities. Another may be direct pursuit of project-based funding. We would apply for project grants or collaborate through other consortia without being tied to CAPE's organization-wide agenda. And then there's the administrative focus, streamline efforts on county-led initiatives with clear line of sight to local outcomes and timelines. Some of the risks may include loss of CAPE benefits and representation. The county would forego access to CAPE tools, training, regional projects, and any CAPE board committee roles after the effective withdrawal date. Another risk could be relationship and reputation impacts. Withdrawal could be viewed by partner municipalities as stepping back from a regional leadership role or collaboration. Some cost savings if Red Deer County were to withdraw. Savings could consist of Red Deer County's annual CAPE membership fees, as well as staff time currently dedicated to CAPE subcommittees and meetings. If we were to retain CAPE membership, savings may be realized through jointly funded CAPE projects, the use of CAPE-produced community profiles, and other shared initiatives. We have some alternatives here. One being direct administration to provide Central Alberta Economic Partnership with written notice by March 31st, 2026 of Red Deer County's intention to withdraw. In accordance with CAPE's Articles of Association, membership would cease in the fourth quarter of 2027 unless an earlier date is accepted by the CAPE Board. Administration would confirm the precise effective date and any prorated invoicing with CAPE in writing. B would be to direct administration to continue CAPE membership with no withdrawal notice at this time, maintaining participation for the 2026-27 fiscal year and beyond, subject to future council direction. Lastly, you could refer the matter to administration requesting further information. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, your direction is required.
No, thank you for a great report. Questions of administration on this one? Does anyone? Go ahead, Councillor Carley.
So if we did decide to step back from being a part of CAPE, would this directly affect any businesses in the county?
Through the Assistant CAO to Mayor and Council, that's my answer. I can't think of one business that would be directly impacted as far as us being, as Red Deer County pulling back. We do have some businesses that have been or are currently associate members of CAPE within the Red Deer County region, so they may be impacted in that way, perhaps. I'm sorry, it's speculative. That's a little difficult to answer.
Fair. Councillor Ritz. Okay. Councillor DePalm.
Thanks for the report. So I do have a few questions. I guess my first question would be the $125,000 that they got in 2023. Do they get that every year, or is that that's the funding they'll get for the whole 2024 to 2027? It's only $125,000 to spread out over those years, or is it they get that much every year?
Through the Assistant CAO to Council or Mayor and Council, it is expected that they will be receiving another $125,000. It hasn't yet been confirmed, but this would be the last year. This is again the wind down. This is the third year of the three-year transition, whereas the 2027-2028 year or moving forward would be completely dependent on membership and industry partners.
Okay, so previously they've got that much per year then.
From what I can understand, I'm just taking a look at like the audited financials have not yet been released. That will happen at the AGM, so we'll have a better indication. In 2023, there was the $125,000 as well as some grant funding that CAPE was successful in securing through NRED for a house pass or connections corridor study. But as far as operational funding, that will cease.
Okay. So then, can I keep going? Or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So then my other question would be, so we give them our membership fee based on per capita. I guess how much does that cost us in staff time to attend all this stuff? Like, can you put a dollar figure on everyone's time approximately that they have put in to all this stuff? Because that costs us money as well, right?
Through the CAO2 member and council, yes. It is, however, dependent on what projects or initiatives that Red Deer County or staff is committing to those projects. In the past, it has been nominal to, we'd be looking at perhaps, 20 to 30 hours a month, depending on that subcommittee and how often those committees meet. Currently, there's really nothing on the docket that requires much staff time currently. However, looking forward, whereas CAPE's model will be a little more dependent on members, whether it's members at large or municipal members, as to, to be able to action items or projects that they may see, hoping to get funding for through the province, which is now looking more at a project-based funding model. So if they are successful in acquiring some of those dollars, there will be a requirement for some boots on the ground.
Okay, so there is a cost to Red Deer County over and above the $18,000 for our staff. If say our staff is putting in 20 hours a month, right? That
at most
would be a cost on top of this to us. So, okay, so I'm gonna 20. And the other question I have is, so these, when it says the county would forgo access to the CAPE tools like Invest, Central Alberta, Training Regional, and that kind of stuff, but can the county apply for the same grants that they would be applying for on our own?
Through the assistant CAO to member and council, yes, absolutely. And we do have some tools in our toolbox. Those are just additional tools. As you know, we do have investrdcounty.ca, and then we do participate in other regional economic development partnerships. So CAPE is a fantastic tool in our toolbox.
Okay, I got more, but I'll let other people ask them.
Councillor Ryan. Oh, Mr. Dietrich, you want to weigh in on some of that?
Just want to caution council, this isn't coming from administration, this is coming from you. So just the lines of questioning, you're putting our team on the hot seat, which is really, we weren't expected. If we knew, there's a whole, what you're expecting, then we could have prepared a report and prepared our responses. We just want you to be cognizant of the fact this is a council-led initiative, and it just we can answer basic questions, and like on one that we're going to lose access to, I can answer. They do a community profile is one where they look at our current businesses, all our population through the Treasury Board. There's a value to that. So that's probably, I don't know, if we contract it out, maybe $5,000, $10,000. So we will lose access to those regional things that they do in terms of data and statistics that we're going to have to do ourselves moving forward, but we haven't priced that out at this point.
I do appreciate the clarity, Mr. Dietrich, and I don't think our intention is trying to put staff on the hot seat. I think it's just trying to gain a little bit more clarity as it is a big decision, and we understand the time constraint of all this was pretty tight to get all the information. So certainly aware and appreciate the clarity. No, I think we're okay. Councillor Ryan Hansen.
Yeah, that was at the back of my head too. I'm like, I don't know how much information they can give us. I do have a lot of questions around this, but I understand the limitations of what we can give. I guess a broader scope question, do you feel like Red Deer County could provide their own programming and take this on their own? Like, do we have the capabilities? Do we have the funds? Is that an option? Tools. Do we have the tool?
Through our assistant CAO to Councillor Hansen, that's a bit of a loaded question, and you know what, when you look at really CAPE's mandate is more of a regional approach, and you know what, so much of their business model and what they do is is really to provide a level of regional economic development, whether it's business attraction, development, workforce, retention, that type of thing. But it also supports, I'm going to use the term the small guys, the municipalities that don't really have an economic or business development team. With that said, as we know, how well we play in the sandbox with others, and it's important for us to be, part of a regional approach. It depends on what the project is, and is there some that are out there that maybe we could handle ourselves? You bet. Like I look at our team right now, and the lead generation and the targeted efforts we're doing, and being very intentional with who we're going after. Is there an opportunity or a possibility to have CAPE assist with that? Absolutely, but that's not going to stop us from doing our job as well. So I don't know if I'm really answering your question other than, there's always a place and there's always the ability to partner and when I look at I weigh things based on opportunity cost, right? And what's going to be potentially lost. Do we, again, CAPE is very regional minded and with that too, there's our limitations because from a regional approach, maybe it doesn't, maybe everything doesn't quite align with Red Deer County and what we want, and especially with our lead generation. So that's part of it too. We can be a lot more specific in-house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that was a loaded question. I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Councillor Girard.
I really don't have too many questions without. I'm not trying to put anybody on the hot seat. We were just asking for information. So the questions I think are great questions that we're just trying to get clarity and try. I think one of my questions would be, and it would be opinionated on the value of CAPE for what our economic development's doing, which is the question that was just asked to you earlier, just a little bit differently. With the investment that we make, I'm going to say it's over $20,000 a year, and it's going to go up again. Just trying to see if what the value is in that investment that we're making. From an opinion, not a hot seat.
I'll take this. Through the assistant CAO to Councillor Girard, you're right, and I'm going to be quite honest. Last night I spent a lot of time. I even watched the City of Red Deer's discussion and that they had on this as well, just to really kind of get a sense on the quantifiability, if that's even a word, or what's quantified based on the investment that's being made. That's one thing with economic development, and again, I can say this from, having a business background in the private sector as well, that it's not always quantifiable or quantified, the money being spent versus what that return is coming in. And Assistant County Manager or CAO Dave Dietrich kind of hit it on the head. If we're looking at something with substantive or a document, well, you've got the community profile. Then you've got, they brought in, we had a site selector type of I guess, conference last year too. And I don't think anything came out of that, but that doesn't mean it wasn't justified with what was brought in. We know that sometimes this is 18, 24, 36 months from your initial contact with somebody for lead generation until you have a signed executed agreement. So to your point, it's tough to quantify our ROI on this, and I'm not speaking for the City of Red Deer, but they had the same concerns, and it was tough. The response that Mr. Salvatore gave, it was tough to do as well. So I'm not skirting it. I'm just trying to speak the truth to power here.
No, I really appreciate that. The other I guess contentious thing I have is with our government of Alberta having its own economic development, and then we have all these development boards crossing paths, and it just feels to me that it's starting to become more of a cleanup than it is having all these, more economic development's great, but strategic economic development is what's going to make us prosper even more. And so my concern is just, with Alberta having their own economic development now, they're reaching a lot further and trying to broaden all of Alberta. And then we have, our Red Deer cities, ED, RED, and then we have Cape, and then Calgary and whatnot. I just get concerned that we have so much economic development that's not being as targeted. That's more of a comment than a question. And the concern is the amount of money that we're spending, and what it's hard to show. I get it. You can't quantify it, but it's still like we're spending taxpayers' money, and they, they'll have questions too.
Councillor Brewster.
Yeah,
Questions?
so my question was just the $18,000 that we were going to give to Cape for our membership fee. What would the overlap be with our economic development? So I think that's been asked like 4 times now. So I'll let it go, but it is something that we, as a group, we've decided that we need to cut back on our spending. And is this a place where it's a good cutback because we're doing the work anyway, or is this a place we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot to save $18,000?
I think that is a question, but more of a hypothetical one. I guess, so just for process clarity, this, if we went to notice to withdraw, that is for next year. So that would give us a year kind of timeline to maybe answer some of these questions. So just looking for clarity, I guess, on process.
Through the Assistant CAO to Council and Mayor. Yes, so if we were to submit our notice to withdraw, we would continue to be active members until the third quarter of 2027. We would be participating, as we do today, in Cape until the final date in 2027.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Mr. Dietrich, you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, and through your rep on Cape, I think we need to really look at 3 fundamental questions. What value proposition does Cape offer us? So that's 1. What do you as a council think Cape should prioritize? 2. And 3, what are they doing that they shouldn't be doing? Because as Manager Koopman indicates, I'm very proud of our Act Dev team and our business development team. Potentially there's things they're doing that we already are doing, or there's duplication. So those 3 questions, I think we want to task council with through your board rep to answer those questions. I think that'll be something that's not on this side of the table, but on your side of the table moving forward. And I hope that provides you a little bit of guidance for how to think about that as you go through this next year, because no doubt the moment this hits the papers, Mr. Koopman's or Director Miller, their phone will be lit up from Mr. Salvatore.
Yeah, and so I think I want to be careful with our discussion here. I've had requests for another round of questions because I think we're almost getting to like the next steps piece of this. So just trying to stay focused on our agenda item, and yeah, we'll go round 2 with questions, and then hopefully we can kind of get to a motion. So Councillor Carly Hansen, further questions? Councillor Ritz, questions?
Specifically to the notice, because I do echo what Councillor Gerard said about the diluting of some of those just with too many. So, and I do believe that our ECDEB is very strategic and aligned and good partners as well, and have a lot of good partners. So my question would be, if we did provide that notice, and yes, at the end of said year, after we reviewed, would we still have the opportunity then to say, actually, we'll stay put?
Through the Assistant CAO to Member and Council, yes, the Articles of Association alludes to that scenario. After a notice has been given and within that year and plus, should that member ask to or decide to rescind the notice, it would be up to the board to consider that request and ultimately make that decision. But it is definitely within the Articles of Association that is an option.
Thank you. Councillor Palm.
Thanks. I did have that question. I guess the other question I have, and I apologize if I was not trying, but I don't know any of this information, and so to make a decision, I have like tons of questions, but I'll just, my next question would be, so how many municipalities are in this one in particular? And I guess this Red Deer County and the city of Red Deer would be the two biggest, and then how many others would be on there?
Through the CAO to member and council. Yes, there are a total of 24 municipalities, and the city of Red Deer and the county are the two larger communities, our municipal members, and then after that would be, I'd say, Sylvan. We do have a slide here. Would you mind just popping it over? I think it's the next one. There we go. That's who we have currently in Cape.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And again, I apologize. I wasn't trying to but this is information I have no idea about. And so to, make a decision and get the information, I have tons of questions still, but I'm not sure how I should ask them. So I'll just stop right there for now.
Thank you. Councillor Ryan Hansen for the questions. Councillor Gerard. Councillor Brewster. Okay. With that, we'd be looking for a motion. Councillor Gerard, you are the rep on this one, so I would defer to you, but if you don't want to make the... I'll defer to somebody else. Okay. Is anyone else interested? Councillor DePalm.
So I'll make a motion, and this is personally how I feel right at this point in time, that I would direct administration to provide Central Alberta Economic Cape with written notice by the March 31st of Red Deer County's intention to withdraw, in accordance with all the other stuff is there.
Yep.
And these would be my reasons. Is right now, like I said, I have a ton of questions that have not been answered, and to get this stuff answered, plus they're not going to be getting any more funding from the province. How much is that going to increase our costs? How much is that going to increase our staff time, our time that all have to be put into this because they're not going to get the money to do some of these projects, right? I have great faith in our own economic development team. I think you guys have done great things. And so, I have too many unknowns right now, and until those are answered, I can't support being involved with this at this time. And so, so that's my motion.
Thank you, Councillor DePalm. So motion to send notice to withdraw. Councillor Ryan Hansen, comments or debate?
Yeah, I think Councillor DePalm spoke very well to my opinion as well. I see the value in it, but I also have so many questions that just aren't answered. I like the idea of being in a little bit of a safe place where we give our notice, and we can choose to do that if we want. It gives us a little bit of a timeline and a break there for us. So I am in support of providing notice and having that space.
Thank you. Councillor Gerard, any comment or debate?
Yeah, I guess I'll make a comment. Like I touched on earlier, all economic development is positive. My concern is having not enough focus on the Central Alberta Economic Partnerships of what we're looking for, but I do also understand the broad scope of it, and being a part of a group like this, not all the development's going to be seen by us right away, but there's always that opportunity. So I guess I caution a little bit on focusing solely on the cost. The membership fees are likely going up. We talked about this previously. So that is a little bit concerning. Having the 1 year or I guess 3 quarters before we can actually pull out, I think that's comforting as well. So I'm kind of a mixed opinion right now. And I think our economic development is super strong. The work that you guys have done and brought into the county is straight to our benefit. And that's our investment and I think that's a really great investment that we're making. I'm just concerned about the cost of this going up, and having that buffer is a good thing.
Councillor Brewster.
So thank you, Councillor Gerard. I was looking forward to your input because you sit on the table, right? So you're part of the group. One of my concerns will be that next year, if even if we decide to come back into CAPE, that the membership fees are going to go way up because they're not going to be funded in the same way. So I echo a little bit of Councillor Gerard with, an example like P&H is a huge boost, and because of your guys' good work, and if we can continue down that path, then we are going to look really, really rosy for the future. So I would thank you for all the work that you've done, and I guess this gives us a buffer zone for the next 3 quarters to figure out if we need to be, what the membership fee is going to look like for 2028, right? Because that'll go up. And if we can afford it then, or if we feel a need that we have to get a little bit more of a regional, bias. And if we can go out on our own and we need help, then we'll know more in the next, I think by summertime, I would assume, so.
Councillor Carly Hansen.
Yeah, I'm just going to pretty much echo everybody else. So I'm not going to waste anyone's time. I feel the same way as everyone has spoken. So yeah, I'm in support of the motion.
Councillor Ritz.
Yeah, I absolutely support Councillor DePalm's motion and everything that's already been said. Additionally, I think that this it's not necessarily a negative. I think that this provides us with further information and more analytics that we'll be able to review, and it gives us that opportunity, especially with Councillor Gerard on the board. So I absolutely am in support, and I look forward to learning more as we go through the next 3 quarters.
Yeah, and I'll agree. This certainly is a tough one, and I appreciate staff's indulgence here today. I agree this was very council-led and, kind of last minute, but I think the conversation we've had here speaks to our confidence in our economic development team and what they're doing, not only in Red Deer County, but for the region as well. And I think there are a lot of question marks around CAPE's future. And unfortunately, their articles of association really put us in a tough spot here with how you have to give notice and the timing of all that, as we've been made aware that fees could be increasing. And so, I think council's really trying to be proactive in this and make sure that we're protected in case fees do go to a place where we're not comfortable. We've given our year's notice proactively and we can adjust course at this time. But, the way I really look at this is we are just giving our notice. We have a full year to really consider this decision and really get the answers to council's question and what we need to see from CAPE to continue on there, because I do see some value in the regional approach, and we want to be regional. We want to work with our partners, but at the same time, as has been mentioned, there's so much going on with economic development right now around Central Alberta First. We look at Red Deer Drive, all of those things, and if we spread ourselves across everything, it could create challenges as well, and it might make it harder. So, maybe this is a situation where we could reinvest in our own team and still try and benefit the region. And so, I certainly think this is going to create some conversation and much needed conversation. Economic development seems to be at a crossroads right now, and so I think it's going to be really up to this council what our strategic direction is going to be here, and I think this motion is proactive in protecting us in case things go a direction that we're not okay with, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. So I'm definitely in support. And Councillor DePalm, if you wish to close. No, no, fair enough. Just give you the opportunity. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Councillor Gerard was opposed. We are at an hour, so yeah, we can definitely take a quick break and come back at about, we'll say 11:35-ish. but we have a Mr. Brand. Miss Rock, and we have Miss Miller, and are we okay to go? Okay. 5.6 Medicine River Watershed. Miss Rodwell.
Good morning, Council. Again. On January 13th, 2026, Council considered membership in the Medicine River Watershed Society and passed a motion directing administration to make to have the society present as a delegation at a GPC meeting in order to learn more. On March 10th, next slide. On March 10th, that presentation was made, completing the requirement for the delegation to be conducted. So your alternatives today are to pass a resolution to join the Medicine River Watershed Society and appoint a representative, or pass a resolution to join the society on a trial basis and report back on the impact of participation prior to the 2026 organizational meeting and appoint a representative, or choose not to participate in the Red Deer River Watershed Society at this time. As Council does not currently participate, no resolution would be required to do that, and Council direction is required on this matter as it was a Council initiative. Thank you.
Okay, questions on this one? I know we've talked about it a bit, but yeah, go ahead.
Can you just remind me when the 2026 organizational meeting is?
It's around the third week of October.
Consistent with election.
Okay.
Other questions?
October 27th.
Thank you, Ms. Rodwell. Other questions? Councillor Ritz, do you have a question? Councillor Palm?
Maybe not.
Councillor Ryan Hansen?
I sit on a few of the watershed boards, so I am on the fence on this. I see the need, I see the drought. There's no money involved from us right now. Anyway, I was looking on their website just to get some more information. There's certainly some different things there than the other ones. There's some overlap. There's some different things. I was curious if we had already kind of agreed to support. I noticed our logo on their website. I don't know if that's a question or not.
We have not formally agreed.
It's not an authorized use of the logo.
We've partnered with them on a couple things, and as mentioned in the previous term, I attended some of their meetings, but we have not formally ever appointed someone.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Councillor Brewster?
Yeah, a question for Mayor Ramsey. You attended their meetings because I really enjoyed the presentation that we had about it, but you attended their meetings. Is there enough value for us to have a trial representative? Put you on the spot instead of staff.
Yeah, I hesitate to answer that before getting into debate. I will say conflicted on direction we should go. I can say that in the past we didn't formally appoint someone as we were trying to kind of be cautious with our external committees, and I attended their meetings just to try and show some support, but without making council do a formal appointment. And I would say, I guess what's changed is kind of their level of advocacy and the fact that now they've recruited other municipalities to appoint. And so that's what's, I guess, brought us back to having to answer this question. Further questions? Councillor Palm wants to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion based on my opinion of this whole thing. I would choose alternative B, that we join the Medicine River Society on a trial basis, and then reconsider everything again before the organizational meeting in October. And my, I guess, way of thinking for this is we also don't want to get ourselves in a position where we are getting appointed to all these boards that, yes, right now they have a mission and they need support, but in a year from now, will they need that same support? And we've locked in a counselor to be on there. Last council went through and a lot of these boards and why are we really here? What is our impact? Those kind of things. And we did take away a number of boards that, so I don't want to commit 100% to this at this point, but I would definitely be in favor of a trial basis when they need us, the support right now, and then revisit it. And I guess that also goes to, I'm assuming I know which counselor would go on there. So, you know, you don't want to overload people, and time is precious. So that's my motion.
Thank you for that. Motion to join on a trial basis. And Ms. Robel, I guess just clarity on the alternative, the suggested. So we would not officially be appointing a representative or, you know, any sort of membership. This would just be, we're willing to lend someone to your meetings until further decision.
The recommendation is to appoint a member of council as a representative of Red Deer County to the Watershed Society. Our understanding from their presentation is that they don't have like a formal membership agreement or a membership fee, so we wouldn't be entering into any sort of strict agreement with them. We would just be appointing representation.
And so we could send them a letter.
Correct.
Following this motion.
That is my understanding.
Detailing our stance as kind of identified. Okay. Just wanted clarity so we're all on the same page there. Councillor Ryan Hansen, comments or debate?
I see the benefit of having more people on the water boards for sure. Water is life, and it's important to our county. I do think there is some overlap in some of these, but I think being a part of this and maybe discovering what those overlaps are and how we benefit from each one separately. This one does seem like more like an advocacy one, so a little bit different than the Red Deer River. And also the municipal user group that I'm on. So I think potentially there could be some benefit there. So whether we join on the motion on a trial basis or whether we just appoint and have a representative, I think we can gain information on either end of those.
Thank you. Councillor Gerard.
My concern with appointing a member to the watershed is most of our appointed members are on committees that we fund, and sometimes I think that comes with an expectation. And I would have went with C to not appoint right now. And again, it's just for the expectation for funding when we do appoint somebody.
Thank you. Councillor Brewster.
Yeah, so I think I do support having somebody on it, at least in the interim, just to learn more about it. The Medicine River watershed comes up for a lot in our Ag Service Board conversations and our ALICE. So I think having a member of council who can report back to council would be a good thing to help with those, because as drought gets more and more critical in the area, and the you know, the fracking costs, the fracking environmental costs, I guess, because I'm not necessarily opposed to fracking overall, but so I think having somebody on the board and knowing more about it, not the board, sorry, but having somebody go to the meetings, report back, would be, I think I would definitely support that.
Councillor Carly Hansen.
Yeah, I am in support of the motion for sure. I think at very least do a trial basis for the Medicine River watershed. Medicine River does run right through Division 5, so to have the knowledge that this group has, and I mean they have people on this board that are knowledgeable about the water and the whereabouts and the what tos. So you know, it's important information, and so yes, I support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Ritz.
So I agree and understand certainly the benefits of having a trial membership, but I do also echo Councillor Gerard, especially considering that is something outlined in their strategic plan is more funding for municipalities. So I do believe that would be something that would certainly come forward if we do appoint someone. So with that caution, I would say that I would support the motion, but I do believe there would be that coming forward in future.
Yeah, thank you. And as I kind of indicated, I'm conflicted on this myself. You know, in the last term, we really tried to manage our external committees, and I think that's going to be something that this council has to look at as well. I do agree, though, things, as Councillor Anna pointed out, with the advocacy, I think things have changed. This has been impactful. The fracking that is going on in Lacombe County is really taxing this watershed and the river itself, and that does impact our residents and just, you know, the health in our county as well. I think, you know, being a part of their advocacy up at RMA, I think it just added confliction for me, because I think we probably could have got a meeting with the minister and maybe been a bit more pointed in how we tackled that. And I agree with the question that funding is going to be a request. And so I can support this motion, because I think we could send a letter saying we will, you know, appoint a representative until the org meeting, and I think we really need to highlight that this would be trial and there will be no funding coming with this appointment. And that gives us a few months to kind of see where, one, what the state of the drought situation is going to be this year. I think that would really change things. Not that the conversation doesn't need to keep happening, but maybe the level of advocacy. I think if it stays dry and the fracking continues, we're going to be in a real situation on there. And so having a member there could be beneficial. But I certainly hear the concerns expressed, and I do think we need to approach this with caution, or it's just going to increase the amount of asks we have for our councillors. And, you know, I think there's a lot of good things we could put our time and effort towards. So, Councillor DePalm, I don't know if you have any closing comments.
Sure. I guess I'll just close with saying I definitely agree. A very straight up letter on what we're laying out here needs to go to them to tell them what our expectation is at this point. So yeah, I guess that's all I need to say is we need to be very specific, because I think, you know, we do have to be mindful of all these other boards, because I know that some others will probably come forward now, but there's a reason for this needs to be done right at this time frame, and but it's only a trial. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried 6-1. Councillor Gerard was opposed. Okay, moving right along into development applications. Item 6.1, the NRCB is back again. Mr. Mohay.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. Is to consider a referral from the Natural Resource Conservation Board, the NRCB, for an application to construct a new dairy confined feeding operation on the Northeast 1635-1 west of the 5th. The subject land is located 5.5 kilometers west of the town of Innisfail, adjacent west of Range Road 13, and half a mile or 800 meters north of Township Road 352. On the map, it's the one that has the yellow square on it. Okay, the zoning for the subject land is agriculture, and the intent of the application is to start a dairy farm with the aim of having 200 milking cows and include the following: a dairy barn, heifer barn, manure pad, and lagoon. And all the dimensions are all stated up on the presentation there. Next slide. The manure spreading area stated on the application is on the same township. So for the Northeast 16, about 35 hectares, 60 hectares on the Northwest 16, 33 hectares on the Southeast, and 64 hectares on the Southwest. The nearest residence on the application states that it's approximately 454 meters east of the subject land. Next slide. And the NRCB requested comments on the following questions as usual. Is the application consistent with the county's MDP? And are there any other statutory plans applicable to the area? And what is the land use zoning application site and surrounding lands within the half-a-mile radius under the land use bylaw? And does the application meet the required municipal setbacks? Next slide. So Red Deer County MDP section 353 subsection A states that input from the county shall be provided to the NRCB for new CFOs and shall be supported if it meets criteria listed in same section with the subsection B 1 to 3. So the county shall support new or expanding CFOs if they are not located within an exclusion area buffer, MDP map 2, and they are compatible with adjacent land uses and not located within an urban fringe. Next slide. So this proposal is outside of the exclusion area buffer, as indicated on map 2 new CFOs, exclusion areas of the county's MDP. The proposal is outside of any IDP or ASP plan areas and urban fringe. The subject land is zone ag, and the surrounding half-a-mile radius is also ag. Next slide. And county setback requirements is front yard 46 meters from provincial or highway and gravel country roads, 7.5 meters for the side or rear yard. The site plan provided by the NRCB does not show any measurement for the setbacks. However, county map shows all existing buildings are within that required setbacks. Staff recommendations per alternatives 3A is to advise NRCB that the county has no objection to the application to construct a new dairy CFO on the Northeast 16, 35 west of the 5th. That includes 200 milking cows, plus associated dryers and replacements, which also includes the dairy barn, heifer barn, outdoor solid manure storage pad, and the lagoon. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Questions for administration? Any takers? Not seeing any. Councillor, we'll go Councillor Ryan Hansen first.
I don't have any major questions, but I'm curious, what is an exclusion area buffer?
That's a good question.
The Assistant CAO, the Mayor and Council, Councilor Rihanna Hansen. The buffer zone, exclusion area buffer is on our municipal development plan. It's a map 2, and it's typically surrounding the urban areas because of the conflict of use between urban areas where people reside normally, higher density, and the distance between confined feeding operations because of the nuisances that created from that.
Okay, thank you.
Does that give you clarity?
Yeah, it makes sense. I just wasn't understanding the terminology, so yeah. I do have another question.
Go ahead.
So the NRCB, they're just kind of wanting to clarify some information as far as our municipal policies go?
That is correct. So they're looking at our statutory plans, which is the Municipal Development Plan. They are bounded by the Agricultural Operations Practices Act to consider that. And so they're looking at our land use bylaw as well. So any area structure plans, or perhaps if we have area redevelopment plans, those are statutory plans, they would consider those because that is under the MDP as well. Then that is correct. So they're looking at consistency, and if there's any concerns that the council may have, we can have criteria for input within our MDP as well. And it's somewhat limited in what we can say and comment on. What I mean by that is because some of the, for example, the barns, the NRCB are the ones who would be receiving the development permit applications for those, and same with the lagoon. And they would look at different environmental things that would be affected, and that's in their mandate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just to build off that a little bit, so that NRCB, very much like the AUC, is one of those external agencies, and they oversee these CFO approvals. And so where they differ a little bit from the AUC is part of their mandate for their approval officer is to check with the municipality if it aligns with your planning documents. Whether they listen or not could be a different story, but that's where their process differs. Councillor Gerard, any questions? Councillor Brewster?
I didn't really have a question, but thank you for this. I guess it looks like it's already a farm, so I'm assuming they're just adding dairy cows to it. Do we have any information about what it already is?
Through Assistant CEO to Mayor and Council, we don't have, I don't have that information. This is an application for a new CFO.
Councillor Carly Hansen? Any questions?
I do have a question. I just want to confirm NRCB, because we just kind of dealt with this. The NRCB does the fan out to make sure, to check with the neighbors and stuff, correct? That's the NRCB's job for this? Okay. Yeah, I'm getting nods. Thank you.
Councillor Ritz, any questions? Councillor DePalm, questions?
One of my questions is has kind of been answered, but going forward, we wouldn't have to do anything. This would just be, they don't have to come to us for any building permits or anything like that, or that all goes through them now, right? It doesn't come to us for that part because it's farm, so technically don't need one. Is that right?
Go ahead, Mr. Dietrich.
Thank you to Mayor and Council. Agricultural buildings are exempt from the safety codes. Right. So we will see, quite often you'll see electrical permits. You will see certain permits if they put solar panels on their roof, because we have to make sure that the trusses can handle the panels and the snow loads. So they may get permits, but they might not either. But definitely we'll see electrical for sure, and probably gas.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That answers everything. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Brewster, this is your area. If you want to make a motion, you can.
I will. Thank you. I would make a motion to advise the NRCB that we have no objection to the proposed application as stated in the alternatives.
Thank you. Debate or comment? Going around the room. Councillor Palm.
I guess my comment would be, I think it's great that they're setting up another, milk dairy farm in our county. I think it's really good for us. So, I have absolutely no problem with this and highly support it. So,
thank you. Councillor Anna Hansen. Councillor Gerard.
No, I echo Councillor DePalm. I think we're obviously egg-based county, and promoting more egg business is exactly what we should be doing. So this is a great thing.
Yeah, I agree. To me, this is a 200 milking cow operation. To me, that's going to be low impact. I would ask. I know we're going to be doing some more with the NRCB a little bit. I know we've invited them to come out, and so I think that'll really help us with future ones. I do question a little bit the words "no objection" in the resolution, because for me, when we don't see the public side of it that they do, I think it's hard to say that I don't necessarily object. I might agree that it doesn't interfere with our planning documents, but to say that I don't have an objection without receiving the public feedback part of it is a little bit tricky. So I don't know if that's something we can look at with future ones that come, but yeah, just my opinion, and I did learn a little bit more on this up at RMA, and I'd be willing to share later on as well. So with that, Councillor Brewster, any closing comments?
No, I would just like to echo what Councillor Gerard said, and the more farming operations we can get, the better.
Perfect. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. So, Council, if we can sit through one more, then we can get through this meeting. So yeah, item 6.2, whenever staff is ready.
It's me.
Perfect.
Again.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's like a first reading of bylaw number 1021/2026. It's local area structure plan, and bylaw number 1002/2026-B, which proposes a redesignation, both related to the land within the Northeast 26, 37-1 west of the 5th, and to set the public hearing date for both bylaws on June 16th of this year. Next slide. Subject lands are located within the Northeast 26, 37-1 west of the 5th, approximately 14 kilometers west of the city of Red Deer, adjacent west of Range Road 11 and 800 meters north of Township Road 374. You can click, I guess, just to see a location there. Okay, just to give you a sense of direction there. It's the one that's kind of round dash, but it's actually the square one in yellow highlights. That's the subject land. And if you don't mind, can you click backwards, please? Okay, so the intent of the Northeast 26 3715 LASP, or Local Area Structure Plan, is to provide guidance for land uses and subdivision within the quarter section. Sorry, 2 clicks because of the animation. So currently there are 2 parcels in the plan area, including the 3 agricultural parcel that's already been taken out, and that contains agricultural residence, and the remaining 157 acres parcel contains an agricultural residence and a large area used for agricultural purposes. Next slide. Okay, so the intent of both proposed bylaws is to allow for the future subdivision of a second parcel, approximately 7 acres. It's on the top part of your map, containing an agricultural residence from the larger 157-acre remainder within the plan area. So just click, just kind of highlight that. So that's the one that they want to take out. Next slide. Section 3212 of the county's MDP allows for 2 agricultural parcels to be subdivided out of a core section, subject to various conditions. One is creating a local area structure plan that is required. The remainder of the core section must be identified in this plan and redistricted to an agricultural non-residential land use district prior to subdivision of the second parcel. So it has to be appropriately sized to limit the amount of land taken out of agricultural production to the maximum extent possible. Proposed parcel for agricultural residence, the second parcel. So it can be one of these. So agricultural residence, a severance, a value-added agricultural operation, or a bare parcel. And all landowners within the subject quarter section must sign an agreement consenting to the development of the local area structure plan. Just a caveat on this, saying that they agreed and consenting to the development of LASP doesn't mean that they must support the area structure plan. Sorry. Okay, next slide. Okay, so proposed bylaws comply with the municipal development plan. Next slide. So the communication plan for this is that referral and public notice will be sent to all landowners within and adjacent to the subject quarter section, and to internal and external agencies. And the public hearing notice will be posted and advertised in the county news website and local newspaper. As part of the agenda of this report has been shared online. Direction on this matter will be included in the meeting minutes, which are published online and summarized in the county news. And staff recommendations to grant first reading to both bylaws and set the public hearing for June 16th, as stated in alternatives 4A. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. And I would just caution council before getting into questions and comments that these are first readings with public hearings, so we do want to just be a little bit careful what we get into before we hear from the public. With that, are there questions of the report? Not seeing any. Councillor Palm, this is your area if you want to make, I think we need 2 motions, is that correct, Ms. Rodwell? So start with one, I guess.
Okay, I just got to get back to the page. So I would move first reading to bylaw number 1021/2026. Can I do it all in one or do we separate? Oh, sorry, I missed that. Okay. Can I say the other one right now too? Okay.
Okay, so motion for first reading for the local area structure plan. Comments or debate on that? Looking around the room, Councillor Rihanna Hansen, this side. Okay, not seeing any debate. All those in favor of first reading, carried unanimously. Now, Councillor Palm, you can have at the second one.
So I would move first reading for bylaw number 1002/2006B as stated in alternatives 4A.
Okay. Is that right? Miss, just clarity there. Mr. Mohay?
Yeah, for sure. So the bylaw number, sorry about that. It's probably a typo.
Oh,
it's
it
a
is.
bylaw number 1002/2026-B.
Okay, it says 00 in ours. Okay, no worries. Okay, then to the 2026B.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. I'm glad we got some clarity there. Any comments or debate on this one? Yeah, I guess, looking forward to this is kind of our first one of these, so it'll be interesting to go through the process and see where we land and how things work out. So with that, all those in favor of first reading. Carried unanimously. Councillor Ritz, we need one more motion, and I think you're the only one not in the minutes today. So
I motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn at 12:07. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Miss Rodwell, I assume lunch is here. Okay, and we schedule